What's up, LTD addicts? Let's talk about Copywritely. Copywritely aims to help you write more effectively so that users of your website, as well as search engines, understand what you're trying to say. It does so by checking for readability, plagiarism, as well as keyword density. Now, there's currently a lifetime deal running at AppSumo. In this video, I'll walk you through the platform, show you how it works, so you can decide whether it's right for you. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dave from That LTD Life, where I review software tools with lifetime offers. To follow along with this Copywritely review, please click the link in the description. That is the referral link for this channel, which means if you find this review helpful and you decide to go on and make a purchase, it does kick us back a few bucks here at the channel. All right, let's get right into it. Here is AppSumo's deal page for Copywritely. I'm going to scan through this till we get to the plans here. All right, there they are. Now you can see that you can stack up to 3 codes, and I'm going to break down kind of what the differences are here before we actually get into the tool. So for one code, 59 bucks is going to get you a single user. You can scan up to 50 documents per month, although those documents do have this limitation of 5,000 words maximum. You can do unlimited rechecks for one document. And then there's some search engine results page analysis. So that's what SERP stands for, if you're not familiar with that term. They'll be able to analyze your competitors' results pages. You get 50 overall analysis per month, and you get to analyze the top 10 competitors for a single code. Now, these numbers all jump up, although not really proportionally with each code. So follow along with me here. It's a little confusing. So you're going to get 5 users for the second code. You'll go from 50 documents a month to 150 documents a month for a second code. The maximum word count expands, it doubles, and then you'll still get the single document with the unlimited rechecks. And your SERP analysis does not double. It only goes up by 25, and the number of competitors only goes up by 5. Once is getting complicated, I apologize, but once you go up to 3 codes, then we're looking at 10 users, 300 documents per month, 15,000 word maximum per document, unlimited rechecks for one document, so that doesn't change across any of the plans. Then you get 150 SERP analysis, and the top 30 competitors can be analyzed. So you can see that they really are kind of pushing you along. I think for most people, a 5,000 word document is probably going to be enough for blog posts, but maybe it's not, and that might push you up into the second code here. So we'll just get into it and see how valuable this tool really is. All right, so here I am in the Copywritely dashboard. So I've got 2 options. I can either paste in text or I can grab a URL. I'm going to start off by pasting in some text. I've got this document here prepared. This is a lead magnet. I've just extracted the text from it, something we created for a client here, and I've got permission to use it. So I'm going to paste it in. This is in the fitness genre. So this is a fairly lengthy lead magnet. It's almost 3,000 words, but it does fit underneath that 5,000 word limit. So it says there's enough words entered. Click to check. I'll just mention that before I had that, it says I need to have at least 30 words before it can check. All right, so it's repasted in, and I'll hit this check button and see what it gives me. All right, the results are in. Let's go ahead and take a look at what Copywritely has to say. Now, the first section over here is on uniqueness, and it says that the document is 100% original. That's great. I do know that to be true. Keyword stuffing. So the keyword stuffing, the idea here is that you don't want to overuse search terms inside your document because that will come across as spammy to search engines. Google particularly is very smart these days, and if it looks like you're trying to game the system, it will penalize you and not display your document or your website higher in the search ranking. So really the best way to rank is to write engaging content that keeps people on your page for a really long time and helps them out. So it does check for keyword stuffing here. It says I don't have any cases of keyword stuffing, and you can toggle on this idea of stemming. Stemming is when you have a word and then maybe you add a suffix to the end of it or a different ending, words that are similar. So it'll group them together to make sure that you're not using too many variations of the word to add up to what might be keyword stuffing. I hope that makes sense. It's a little complex. So I don't have any stemming issues here. Now there's another option down here, which is called stop words. And stop words are essentially just words that, fill out the bulk of our text. Things like to, you, the, and, your. It's really hard to write without using those, although you don't want to overuse them or it can become difficult to read. So they're looking to see how many stop words that I use. And to elaborate, it's not only that it becomes difficult to read, but it is seen as lower quality by search engines. So you want to limit the amount of stop words. So if I wanted to see all of the times I use to, I can just click on that word and it will highlight in the document. So that's a pretty nice feature, easy to navigate. All right, let's move on to the next section, which is on redundant phrases. Now it says here at the top that redundant words are useless filters that do not add any value to the text. So these are going to be things like probably happened, right, happens. Those are the ones that I'm using in this document. There's a great book called Writing Without BS that actually talks about how much of our language is just all of these redundant phrases. And once you strip them out, you end up sounding a lot more intelligent. One thing that bothers me is multiple various. I hear people talking about multiple various things, and that's just an example of a redundant phrase. We don't need to include multiple and various because they both mean the same thing, right? So nice that they're pointing these out. It works the exact same way. It seems, I use it seems twice. I can see exactly where it is in the document by just clicking through. So really slick user interface there. I like that. Let's go down to readability. Now, readability is basically how complex it is to read your document. If you're trying to reach a broad audience, you want your document to be as easy to read as possible. I think the general guidelines is about a third grade reading level is where you'll get the most effective type of document in terms of reaching a wide audience. So right now, this one is set to 6th grade, which is probably a little bit more academic than we'd like. And there's also this thing called the Fleisch Index. And basically with the Fleisch Index, you want to stay under 70 for the document to be considered easy to read. And so this one is a 53, which means it's fairly difficult to read. So possibly I'd want to go back and revisit this document and see if there's a way I could make it a little bit more simple to understand. All right, moving on to rhythmic monotony. So it says, well done, your text is monotony free. So no real other feedback here other than I guess I did a good job. All right, next let's move over to this relevance section here. This is going to let you check and see if your document is relevant to certain keyword searches. You can just type them in right here and it'll go ahead and check the document and tell you whether it's relevant or not. It does tell you right away which words it is relevant to. So this is kind of like the top keywords that it's finding inside of your document. So if I were to search for something like video games, that shouldn't show up in this document at all. And it'll tell me right away, this text is not relevant to that. However, if I were to search for one of these keywords, it would just tell me like calories shows up 34 times. So it's really just scanning the document and telling you how many times a particular keyword shows up. All right, let's go under keyword check, which is a pretty similar type of feature. So the keyword check parameter, you can examine whether all the keywords are used in a text. So I could paste in a series of keywords here like calories, weight loss, diets, and go ahead and hit check keywords in text. And I can see how many times it's used. All right, let's check this next section here called Morphology and see what it has to say. So I'm going to be totally honest with you here. I don't know what morphology is. I had to Google it and it tells me that it's the study of the form of words. Doesn't really help me much either, to be totally truthful. So let's see how my morphology is doing in this lead magnet. So it says that their definition is balance the average parts of speech usage. So under union, I've got a little exclamation mark here, and it says I've used that 412 times, whereas they recommend only using it 332 times, which would be 10% of the words. I've got an example here. It says sentence 1, which would be this right here, which is really just kind of a heading right inside the document. It's telling me that I use the keyword you. Now, I might just say, let's get rid of this because it's a heading, right? So it doesn't necessarily need to be there. I can style it here in the document. Now, I just copy and pasted this over from a text editor, so it lost all of the styling. I actually purposely cleared the styling. But let's just say everything... I just removed you. Now it's not grammatically correct, but does it remove this error? Let's see what it says. Okay, so it reran the analysis. However, it's still telling me that this word is here. So I've refreshed but for some reason it's still there. Let me actually clear the cache and refresh and see if that changes the analysis. I don't know why it would, because it did, all these little wheels spun like it was reading it. So no, it's not noticing that change here. So let me put the word you back in, since that's what it should be. Okay, so I'm not sure what union is. It says passive verbs is good. I have 13, where I could have up to 66. Preposition 46, or I could have up to 332. Again, I'd like some more clarity on what this really means, right? If I'm an English teacher, passive verbs, passive, which I think should be passive verbs, and prepositions, I probably know that really well. However, I've been out of school for a long time, and participles, all of this stuff is going to be a little bit confusing to me, and how necessary it is to actually make the document readable, I guess that's up for debate as well. So I have got a red X right here. Let's see what that tells me. So sentence number 4, over the last 30 years, no one has given us a good answer as to why we keep getting fatter and fatter as a society. So I used the word as twice here, and I guess that is bad. So I'm using these introductory sentences or introductory statements 113 times. You know, I gotta be honest here. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing with this section. There's not really a lot of education going on into what is an introductory. So let's see what else there is here. Words of amplifiers. These would be things like probably, and that is used slightly too much. Adverbial turns. This is tight, and I've used about twice as much as I'm supposed to, according to their terms. And then the abstract adjectives is well within their limitations. Okay, so this section, not super impressive to me. The tool was okay. I was kind of enjoying what it was saying, although it was giving me a lot of good feedback until I got here, and now I don't really know what it's asking me to do. All right, moving along to the last section here. This is for grammar. Now, it's saying that my grammar here is bad. I've got 26 errors that I need to correct. This is going to include things like spelling mistakes, improper use of hyphenations, any sort of, it says possible bad style. So let's see what this looks like. Your body is designed to try and use all of the energy you provide it via food. Okay, so I don't really have any problems with that sentence at all, but it's saying that I should probably change try and all of the, which is actually the next one here. Okay, so I can understand, maybe I can just get rid of the. So your body is designed to try, maybe say try to use your body is designed to try to use all the energy you provide it via food. Okay, so I think that's a slight marginal improvement that it's suggested for me. Let's wait for it to reformat and see if that solves the issues. It does. Okay, cool. So that was actually pretty helpful. Let's see a few of the other ones here. It says this is a punctuation error. And let's see what it says. This is why nearly all diets work in the short term until they don't. So it's saying that until at the beginning of a sentence requires a second clause. So perhaps what I should do here is maybe put a comma and get rid of the start of that sentence. It's going to go through and reanalyze here. And let's see, I'm knocking out some of these grammatical errors pretty quickly. All right, so now I'm down to 22 grammatical errors. So overall, I'd say it's, being helpful in making this a more readable document. There are some things that are, just not helpful or useful, or like here's one where it says back is a possible typo. It says only to gain it back a few months or years later. Their suggestion is backs, which would definitely be incorrect grammar. I think you're going to run into some of that with just about any grammatical tool, or where you're speaking in a common vernacular, you're using very easy to read phrases, speaking informally, it's bound to be rejected by more academic type of grammatical rules. It's just the two things don't always go together. So overall, I found this grammar section to be much more helpful than the morphology, which, I apologize if I'm an idiot and I don't understand what it's asking me to do here, but I just didn't find these percentages or indications really telling me what I needed to do to resolve anything, or really even understanding that the problem exists at all. All right, let's move on to another use case here. This is my review for Funnel Dash on the That LTD Life website. If you didn't know this channel has its own website, it certainly does. You should head over there and sign up for the email list so you get notified when I post new reviews. All right, so what I want to do is actually analyze the content on this page. Now, Copywritely has a Chrome extension that I actually went ahead and installed ahead of this video. So to analyze this page, all I need to do is click on this button and it opens up Copywritely in a new tab and begins to analyze the content. All right, the results are in. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the features here. We've already done that. I just wanted to point out how you could grab content from your blog and kind of proofread it. Now, I will say that this did take, well over a minute or so to process, to grab this link and open it up inside of Copywritely. So despite the magic of YouTube, this was by no means instant. Now, this was interesting to me to grab this particular page because I've actually added the YouTube transcription. Now, if you're not familiar, when you upload a video to YouTube, it will try to do closed captioning by kind of auto-transcribing the words that are in your video. So I put that into this particular blog post. We can check it out right here. It says video transcript, and if I toggle this down, I can see all of the words inside of my video. However, it doesn't do a perfect job of transcribing. There's certainly a lot of grammatical errors or just flat out transcription errors where it doesn't understand the words that I'm saying. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to see how Copywritely handles this. And I noticed right away I've got 95 grammatical errors. So that doesn't surprise me too terribly. Now, I do notice that there is some code that has somehow seeped into this content view. So basically, we've got this little toggle up here to toggle between content and HTML. So when I'm viewing HTML, I shouldn't see any code at all. But for some reason, it did pull this bit in. So I could, of course, remove it. And if I toggle over to the content view, then I only see words and all of my formatting is lost because obviously the HTML is adding the structure to the content here. So you probably want to view your content, unless it's just blocks of paragraphs, you probably want to view it in this HTML mode, which is kind of disappointing then that it's creating an error here and pulling in that extra bit of information. Not the end of the world. Certainly doesn't make it impossible to read, but worth noting. Now, the moment you've been waiting for, let's do a direct comparison between WebTextTool and Copywritely. If you're not familiar with WebTextTool, it's a previous AppSumo deal of a very similar nature. Now, WebTextTool has since changed their name to TextMetrics, so I might use those two terms interchangeably, but I'll try to stick with the current name of TextMetrics. So basically what's happened here is I've pasted in that same content that we used in the first example on Copywritely, and let's compare how the two tools differ in their analysis. Now, one thing that's different right away with TextMetrics is they ask for the page title, the URL, a page description, and a main keyword. So that's going to help you speak to the search engine a little bit more articulately. If I'm over here in the optimize SEO section, I get some guidance on what to do with the page title. It says I need to add the keyword to the page title. That's helpful to know. So I'll say weight loss secrets explained to be ultra internet marketer cheesy. And let's see how this updates here. It says processing. All right, so I went from 26% to 41%, and I'm getting all green checks here on the page title. So you can see right away that it's pretty helpful in terms of, this might not be a better headline because it makes it sound cheesy, but it gives you good ideas on things you could do to improve your content. I'm sure that I could include the phrase weight loss in this headline without it seeming cheesy. I just, for the sake of this video, decided to make it cheesy. It's also going to give me guidance for the page description, things like headings. So it's going to get into the markup of the text. Like I don't have any headings at all included. The main content itself is giving me a reasonably high score. It says that, let's see what I can do. I can add the keyword a few more times. I can consider adding some images here. So we're really getting kind of outside of just the pure grammar checking aspects. Then under miscellaneous, it says that these are going to be suggestions to optimize the content so that it has a smaller impact on the overall optimization, but it's good to consider. So these are kind of just like if you've done everything else, these might be some good ideas as well. So add some bold options, consider making things italic, just basically sprucing up the content, making some words jump off the page. So let's check into the content analysis section here inside of Text Metrics. I've got a 78 score here, which says making good progress. Now, in order to get the analysis done, you actually have to click this blue button, which will analyze your text. So this is interesting to me because with Copywritely, as soon as I clicked on that Chrome extension, I burned up a credit. I use this as one of my documents, and there's no confirmation. There's no, hey, we're going to analyze this content. It's going to use one of your credits. Are you sure you want to proceed? Now, I could see myself accidentally clicking the wrong Chrome extension or possibly forgetting which extension is which. I know we have probably all done that where you're like, you hover over like, which one is this again? Because these are pretty small icons. So I would like to see some kind of confirmation show up inside of Copywritely. That would be nice to prevent you from accidentally using up credits. But let's go ahead and see what it says about my content here. So it gives me an estimated reading time. That's nice. It says that it is a elementary school reading level. That's kind of the goal here. So that's nice. And then under readability, it gives me some ideas on how I can improve the content to make it even more readable. So basically the length of the sentences is too long. I use passive voice too much, and it gives me an example of what passive voice is. And it says old-fashioned or formal words are found. Please review. So it says consume entire father immediately. So I guess father is an old-fashioned word. And I should use dad instead. And under required, I should say need to. So those are interesting. I don't know that I would necessarily always take them up on those suggestions, but it's kind of interesting that they're there. There's some spelling errors. So I like that these spelling errors are all segmented out and I can make those changes in one go versus Copywritely where the spelling errors were kind of intermingled with all of the other grammatical errors. The text credibility is high. The targeting audience is neutral. So I'm actually going for a female audience here. So I'd probably want to change that. The sentiment is positive, and that's great. And then text layout. Obviously, I didn't give any thought to the text layout here. So I would need to go ahead and format that before posting it. It says you're not using enough list items. That would be what I should do to make it easier to read the layout. Okay, so I find all of that information actionable and usable. It doesn't throw a lot of grammar rules or grammar terminology at me. It just tells me kind of what I need to do to make things a little bit better and easier to read. So my vote here is going to go for Text Metrics. So there you have it. Copywritely is an interesting tool. I think it needs a little bit of refinement before it is fully polished. I'd like to see something like an integration with WordPress where you could publish your posts automatically to WordPress. I will say that if you already have the WebTextTool / Text Metrics deal, you probably don't need to pick up Copywritely in addition to it. However, if you missed that one, doesn't look like it's likely to come back anytime soon. So maybe Copywritely is your best bet to jump on it. So I'm going to give this deal a 7.1. I think it's an okay tool. It's got a lot of room to grow, but it's not for me at this point. I'm definitely going to be returning this because I've already kind of invested with WebTextTool. All right, if this review has been helpful to you, please click the link in the description. That is the referral link for this video. So even if you're not going to buy Copywritely, but you're going to grab something else from AppSumo, you can go ahead and click that, and we still get credits over here at the channel for any other purchases you make at AppSumo. Really appreciate your support and your feedback throughout this journey of building this channel. The channel is about 2 months old now, so I'm really proud to have hit over 600 subscribers and looking to crack 1,000 inside of this month of July. So hope everyone in the States here has a great 4th, and I will see you in the next review.